session, if that's okay. So, so now we are the learning outcome that we are completing today, we are hoping to complete, is the third learning outcome. Now, what we'll do tomorrow is that we'll just have a brief discussion of what we've talked already. Like the first and second and the third learning outcome, and you'll get those recordings as well, and then we will work on our assignment discussion, and the dates have been shared with you already when you have to submit your assignment. Any issues with that, please let us know. Okay, we're here to help. So this third learning outcome should be to make you understand to complete a research project in the health and social care setup. So how do you do it? Okay, so there, so you need to understand when you're completing a research project. Okay, so there are different um, there are different steps in completing that, and there's there are different strategies which you have to complete them. So the data collection methods, obviously you want data, and what type of data are you using, your analysis approaches, your statistical packages, their grounded theory, validity, reliability. We've talked a bit about these. Then you want to see about um, problem statements, some literature reviews you want to have a look at, some conceptual frameworks that you want to look at, research questions, hypotheses, terms of references, and methodologies, timelines, and your budget. Data collection methods. So you need the type of data. You need to mention that, analysis approaches, statistical packages, grounded theory, validity, and reliability. Then there's integration of different expertise, values, the best research evidence into decision-making process for care, ethics, permissions and approvals, consent, confidentiality, and anonymity. All of those are considered within your research methods. Quality improvement, evidence, guidelines, policy, comparability, currency, validity, broadening of research, gaining of evidence, and authenticity. We'll touch upon a bit on all of these. So to start with it, I'll just start by discussions around what is a literature review. So a literature review, obviously, it is the review of literature. It's an overview. So you don't go into depth, but it's just an overview. And it's considered the highest level of evidence. Okay, because you have an overview of several other researches that have been done in the past on that topic. So, a literature review is a piece of academic writing that demonstrates knowledge and your understanding of the academic literature, and that is on a specific topic placed in context. A literature review will include critical evaluation of a material. This is why it is called a literature review and not just a literature report. So, a literature report is just, it's not analyzed critically, whereas a literature report, a review, is analyzed very critically in depth. So, this is a process of reviewing the literature and a form of writing. So, what is sample data? So, in data analysis, sampling is the practice of analyzing a subset of all the data, and that is to uncover the meaningful information in the larger data set. Okay, so there's a larger data set like 100,000. You have 100,000 individuals in one in a community, and you want to collect the data only from a specific number of people. So what do? You just want some you just need around like a representative number. So the number should not be very small of those participants and not very high. So so when you collect that data, that should be just appropriate, so that because you don't have the time, you don't have the money, you don't have the resources, so that all has to be considered. That is why you can't go and sample all those 100,000 individuals. Okay. um, so performing a literature review, so what do? So this is the roadmap of your literature review. So you develop your search terms. Okay. and these are known as your Boolean terms. Okay, so your search terms, for instance, if I want to see, I want to have a look at COVID-19 and respiratory health. So my search terms will be COVID-19 and respiratory health. So I wanted to see it in the UK and United Kingdom, let's say, and you'll put up some filters. Okay, so if I want to see COVID-19 again in UK, but I don't want to see it in let's say I don't want to see it in Scotland, I would put a not Scotland. Okay, so I just want to see it in the United Kingdom and not in Scotland. This is how you develop your search terms, and then you identify initial primary sources of the topic. So you see what comes in your search terms. Okay, so when you have these search terms there, what articles do you have there? Okay, now you're not sometimes you might get 500 articles, sometimes you might get just 10 articles on a topic that's not very common, like COVID-19. So what you do, you read those abstracts and additional sections of the articles. For instance, how did the methods work, in order to narrow sources if needed. So sometimes, let's say there's COVID-19 and they
Allah
still
very
have,
decent.
you still have there's there's a chance that that some of those articles are not required by you. So probably that was just a small report that you don't want, you that wasn't the type of research that you wanted, or the study involves just women or just men. You want a study that involves both men and women, or you want a study that doesn't include children, whatever. So you might want to extract some studies or take out some studies from that list. Then you summarize in a paragraph form important information from each source. So once you've got those sources available, you want to then summarize them. Create a thematically focused table of summarized information. So all your information goes into a thematically focused table. So where you have um, uh, uh, the serial number, and then you have uh, the name of the article, and then you have one heading could be of where you want the setting to go on, so that it's the UK that you have it there. There's one column where you want um, n- what type of what is the age group present in those individuals. So there's different ways in which you can have thematically focused tables of summarized information. Now, even in your results section, so when you have your results of your studies, obviously you want to mainly focus on your results. What you do is that you make themes of those results. So for instance, there were 5 articles that saw respiratory diseases. There were 10 articles that saw respiratory deaths happening because of COVID-19. So you'll make different themes of those articles in your results section. Prepare for the first draft by identifying an organizational approach and write strategically. So you'll start writing up those results, write up the first draft, and then edit, proof, and polish. And that it is a repeated process. Okay, that is a more roadmap, a short roadmap for a literature review. So reviewing the literature is it's not it's it requires a lot of rigor. Okay, because when you want to publish your literature review, it will be at a very high level of evidence. Okay, because you've evidenced it from different other researches, you've reviewed all the other researches that are possible. So you need to include all of them, okay, whatever comes across in your search strategy. So it's taken, mostly you take it as a thesis, and you focus on a topic that relates to the main research question that has been raised, and highlight the influential conceptual or empirical studies that have been conducted in the field. Um, then what you do is that not it's the literature review. um, so there are different courses that you do on literature reviews. because it needs a lot of rigor and it needs a lot of perfection in it. So a good review give you a novel synthesis of existing work. As I said, it's a collection of all the research that has been done already, and this may lead to new ways of looking at a subject or identifying gaps in the literature. How do you work around in the process? So it starts with do we already know about the topic? So probably an introduction to the topic, that what is known and what is not known. What do you have to say critically about what is already known? Okay, so again, critically, you have to write the introduction in a critical manner. Has anyone else ever done anything like the same which you are doing? Has anyone, if they've done it, if anyone else has done it, how is it related to your work? And what is it that's missing in their work that you want to fill in that gap? Where does your work fit in with what has gone before or what has been done before? Why is your research worth doing in the light of what is already been done? So this is a gap that you want to identify, and then you are filling in that gap. Okay, so a literature review has number of discernible features and imperatives as its characteristics. So just a minute, sorry. Um, Yeah, sorry about that. I was just trying and organizing how much time we require. So I think part of this we will do tomorrow as well, because I don't think this will be completed by today, because I don't want to rush into it. Any questions, please do let me know. I can stop, I can go again through it. So please don't hesitate in asking. So what do we do? We need, for a literature review, we need a reviewer, and that reviewer will give us rigorous that reviewer will give us a very critical um, feedback on what we've done in our literature review. So when we engage with and critique previous studies, the researcher would need to strike a balance that simultaneously displays criticality, and this is through inquisitive and manners, and you considering arguments, and you have assumptions, you have theories, you have methods, and at the same time you're acknowledging the validity of an insights and strengths made by the study. Okay, so you're seeing the strengths, the weaknesses of the study, and you're critically analyzing all the points made in that. Okay, so that's a reviewer who will see that. Literature reviews um, are much higher than a descriptive study. Okay, um, which happens when you just write down a description of a population, for instance. You're not critically analyzing it. Okay, so this is and then what you're doing is that you're seeing the gap in research, and then you're filling in those gaps through your literature review. Third feature is that that attracts little attention, is that reviews go on throughout the duration of a research project, rather than the conventional understanding that it is conducted at the beginning of the study and ends there. No. So you might have your research project completed in 1 year. So your literature review will keep on evolving. There'll be changes, there'll be modifications, there'll be up-to-date information that you would want to include, and make the previous information redundant, for instance. So how do you do, what are the steps? So there's this is about literature review. So we are now going on to how do we collect a sample of data from a set of findings. Okay, so data sampling, what is it? It's a statistical analysis technique, and this is used to select, manipulate, and analyze a representative subset of data points to identify patterns and trends in a larger data set being examined. It enables data scientists, predictive modelers, and other data analysts to work with a small, manageable amount of data. So, what I said to you, we can't take the whole population, even if we wanted to. It looks very attractive that, oh, um, I want I want a project to be done on 1,000 individuals. That sounds very attractive, but that's not possible. You don't have the money, you don't have the time, you don't have the resources, you don't have people. Okay, so what are advantages and challenges of data sampling? Sampling can be done, so you take a sample of people. Okay, sampling can be particularly useful when the data sets are too large to efficiently analyze in full. So like in big data analytics applications or surveys, you might not be able to take all of that data. So, and identifying and analyzing just a representative sample. What is a representative sample? A sample that is very closely uh, similar to the whole population. So if there's a population that has older people in it, very less of children, and you're taking more of children in that sample of yours, let's say you want 100 people only, or just 10 people in your sample, you're not going to take children if there are no children there. Okay, so because they don't represent that population, and it's more efficient and it's cost effective also, when you can't actually have the whole data or the whole population. An important consideration is the size of the required data sample. So sometimes you want the right size of the population, and when you have a very small population or a very small data set, you might have some errors also. So there's certain calculations that you need to do when you want a representative sample, just so that there's no error there. It's free of errors and it's cost effective also. So this is how you do it, and there's different formula that you use to have just an appropriate sample size. There are different types of data sampling methods. So there's simple random sampling, there's stratified sampling, there's cluster sampling, there's multi-stage sampling, there's systematic sampling. So these are different methods of data sampling that you can do. I am not going into too much of details of this. Just remember that there are different methods, and these are probability sampling techniques. So what is probability? Probability means that anyone in the sample has a possibility of being selected. So the best sampling technique is random sampling, okay, where anyone has a chance of being selected in that sample. Um, but it is a hard process. Sampling itself, especially random sampling, is a hard process. And then sampling can also be based on non-probability. Okay, so non-probability is another type where can anyone tell me the difference between this picture and this picture? Is there a difference? If yes, what is the difference? Anyone who can speak? Hello.
There's a difference between the pictures.
Sorry?
There's a different. The difference here is that the probability pictures are not so accurate. Like they are just can't like they are not well arranged. Why the non probability is well arranged?
Okay,
Yes.
that's a good
So
observation. Um,
so
what
they are
else
in,
do you
they are,
think?
they are in, they are, the non probability is in line. Why the other
Okay.
one is not in line? It is well
Mm-hmm.
arranged. Why
Mm-hmm.
probability is not well arranged? They are just
Mm-hmm.
so that's the observation I can see there.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
mentioning that. Anyone else? Can
Okay,
anyone else comment?
let me just try, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
And the probability, when you're talking about probability, is just like well, let's say you're giving like instances, you're not too sure. You're not too
Mm-hmm.
sure. If you see from
Mm-hmm.
the probability picture, it's just like a scanty,
Mm-hmm.
just as the other person have said. Why the non-probability is well arranged. So probability are just like trying to like mix and match. You're not too sure. It's just a probability. You're not too sure of what you have in each sample. So why the other one you're sure of what you have in the sample? That's what I can say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. Anyone else? So what is probability? If no one is speaking, no one else is speaking. Does anyone else want to speak? No? Okay, so what's happening over here is anyone here can have a chance of being selected. That is probability sampling, okay? So the first person had a chance. This is like a lottery method. So you have all of these people putting their names into a box and you just randomly take out a name from that, like from a box that you can't see it, um, the names there. So this is what you can do in probability sampling. So here there's the first person and this fifth person who got selected. There was no chance of um, you having to do, you didn't know which person was going to be selected. What is the beauty of this? That even if you wanted more females in your data set, if it's a probability sampling, you can't really do anything. If you have more females in your data set, that comes by chance, and it's completely unpredictable, and there's nothing that has to do with you. Okay, so it's just by chance. So here's the fourth person, here's the second person again, and this can repeat itself. So you might have the first person or the second person repeating themselves um, on a constant basis. But again, this is probability. What is non-probability is that you want to go, like say this is, consider this as houses. Okay, so there are five houses over here. So one person got selected from this house, and from this house you selected one person from the fifth house. So consider this as houses. So you want to start from the central house, and you decide that I will go s- forwards, backwards, upwards, and downwards. Okay, so or I'll go right, left, back, and forth. Okay, so whatever houses are in these lines, I'll only select these, not these. Or let's say in a classroom, whoever sits in this manner according to their roll numbers, let's say, assigned to them, you'll just select these people. You'll not select these people. So this is all that you have control on. Okay, so this is called non-probability sampling. What happens here is that there may be a bias here where all the people who are reachable, they're here, but those who are not reachable, probably they are better for sampling. Probably their answers could make a very big difference to your research. So you don't have that option with non-probability sampling techniques. Okay, I hope that's clear. Okay, so a bit about what types of sampling do we have in non-probability sampling methods. Okay, so we talked a bit about what what types of probability sampling do we have. So simple random sampling is, again, just simply take a random sample of people, that's it, and survey them, and that's it. Stratified random sampling is dividing people into strata. So let's say a higher socioeconomic status, lower socioeconomic status. These are two strata. Or age can be a strata. So people of a certain age, like 70 years, they can be a strata, and 80 years, they can be a strata. And then within those strata, you take them randomly. Clusters are, again, clusters of houses, let's say. So from a cluster of houses, you want to select 5 houses. So you do all of this randomly. Okay. um, and then there's multi-stage sampling. This is more complex. Okay, so multi-stage sampling and systematic sampling are more complex methods, but they're, again, um, they're with multi-stage sampling, you may have different random sampling methods. So you may have stratified sampling, and within that stratified sampling, you may have clustered sampling. So it's multi-stage sampling. Systematic sampling is that you go in a systematic way. So for instance, from one population, you're taking house number 1 and 2. And then again, from the next street, you're using house number 1 and 2 again. So it's a systematic sampling again. Okay. So these are all methods of random sampling that we're not going into detail of. A bit about how do you do non-probability sampling. So convenience sampling, for instance, what do we do is that we collect data from an easily accessible and available group. So what do? We have a group of people, and we take the sample from them, and let's say they come to the same, the family of there's a family that uh, we randomly we take sample from all those people who come to a particular, let's say, a particular mall or a particular restaurant. Okay, so this is convenient for us. Okay, this, because we don't have to go out into the fields, and we don't have to collect data in that way. So that is known as convenience sampling. Okay, so this is according to our own convenience. It is the convenience of the researcher. Consecutive sampling is every second person, or every third person, or every next person. So data is collected from every subject that meets the criteria until the predetermined size is met. So every sample. So let's say I'm in a shopping mall, and I take I need 100 people, or I am in a school and I need 100 students. So all those students who keep coming, they will be my they will be part of my study until the sample size of 100 is achieved. Purposive of or judgmental sampling is, again, a type of non-probability sampling. Remember, this is a weak method of sampling, but we don't have a choice, because we can't at times go for random sampling, which requires a lot of resources. Okay. Purposive sampling or judgmental sampling. So the researcher selects the data to sample based on predefined criteria. So I say that I need people 15 to 40 years of age. That's my purpose. Okay, and that purpose will judge my sampling. I don't want anyone else of any other age. So that is called purposive sampling. Quota sampling is that you give equal representation within a sample for all the subgroups in the data set or population. So women, for instance, are 50% in that, female men are 50%. That's a quota sampling. Once you generate a sample can be used for your analysis. Okay, for instance, a retail business may use the data sampling to uncover patterns about customer behavior and predictive modeling to create more effective sales strategies. Okay, what is data analysis? So once you have that data, you would want to collect it and analyze it. And why do you want why do you want to analyze this data? This is to support your decision making. You want to make decisions from your data. Okay, and there's several methods and techniques to perform analysis, and this depends upon the industry and the aim of the investigation. So you have quantitative and qualitative research methods. We've talked a bit about qualitative and quantitative research methods. Why is data analysis important? So it is because we want to make informed decisions. Okay, so it is uh, we want to make decisions that, as I said to you, that research has to be uh, it has to be in whatever decisions you make, or whatever plans that you make in the NHS, that have to be those should be um, strongly research based. Okay, so you've made, from a management perspective, you can benefit from analyzing your data, and this will help you make decisions that are based on facts and not simple intuition. For example, you can understand where to invest your capital, detect growth opportunities, predict your incomes, or tackle uncommon situations before they become problems. This also reduces costs. Okay, so another benefit is to reduce costs. So with the help of advanced technologies like predictive analytics, businesses can spot improvement opportunities, trends, and patterns in their data and plan their strategies accordingly. You can target your customers better. So customers are the most crucial element in any business. When you use a 360 vision, 360-degree vision, uh, for your customers, you will understand which channels you can use to communicate with you, and which channels can they use to communicate with you. Their demographics, you can know what males, or how many males there are, how many females, you can know their age groups, etc., their interests, etc. In the longer run, it gives you success and gives you potential customers as well. What is the process of data analysis? Now, I will not go into too much of depth. What I will do is that I will just talk till slide 19, and then the rest we will talk about tomorrow. Just have a look at what resources have been shared with you on Moodle. Have a look at them, and then tomorrow we will complete this lecture, and we will move on towards our literature, our assignment discussion. Okay, so what is the process in data collection, data analysis? It has 5 key stages. First, you identify. Okay, so you need to see what the data is. You need to play around with the data. You identify what do you need in first place, what data do you not need that is excluded from that set. Collect. So you identify, then you collect. As the name suggests, you start data collection uh, of the data that you need. Okay, sometimes you don't have the data that is there. So you need to identify which data you need, and then you start collecting that data, and then you have different ways to collect data. So there's surveys, there's interviews, questionnaires, focus groups. Then once you have the data, you start cleaning it up. So not all the data that you collect will be useful, so you start extracting that data. You have all the data that you need now, and then you analyze. So you need to have a clear strategy of what type of analysis do you want to use. So there are different ways you can analyze your data. That's another discussion in its own. We are not going into depths. But through this, you find out trends, you find out correlations, variations, and patterns that can help you answer the questions you first thought of in the identifying stage. And then you interpret that data. So the results have to be interpreted. It's incomplete without that interpretation. So you identify what you need, you collect that data, you clean that data, you analyze, and then interpret. Present data. So if that data is there, you need to present it in a meaningful way. So sometimes you may have bar charts. So this is useful for comparing sizes in a population. Uh, this is useful only when you have small data sets. Okay. Uh, then you have pie charts as a circle, and within that circle you have different parts, like a pizza, different parts of a pizza. So this the data must add up to 100%. So within that, you make different portions. So let's say 50% is females, 50% is males. This is also when you have less people in your data set. Other examples are maybe line charts and scatter plots, which are more advanced forms. Then you have qualitative data, which you have them in your like you have interviews. Okay, so sometimes you may want to interview people in focus groups, focus group discussions, or you may want to have quotations, or you may want to have in-depth interviews of participants. Okay, so that for that you need qualitative data analysis. And then the last is drawing conclusions. Okay, so from that data set, you need to make conclusions and recommendations, okay, for further research. And that is the whole purpose of your research, that what conclusion have you drawn from those results. Okay, some people will just read those conclusions. They wouldn't go through the whole results, which sometimes are hard for people to understand, or they don't have the time to understand. So they just read up your results. This is there's a point where you want to okay, so I'm stopping here because validity and reliability there. This is a small topic that we will discuss later on. Any questions so far? Just stop sharing my slides. Does anyone have any questions related to this presentation? Does anyone have any questions? Sorry. Just a
Sorry,
minute.
I
Yeah,
want to ask question, please.
yeah.
Are we still going to be assigned supervisor for the project writing or proposal?
You can just send your proposal at learnerwork.co.uk, and then we'll see who can supervise it. So I'll just stop sharing just a minute.
Okay.
Um, so just send it across, and then we'll deal with it. One of you had a question that you had